I'm Malcolm Nance, and I'm your host of this exceptionally sleepy, slow Sunday morning edition of Black Man Spy, U.S. Iran Warcast by our count, day 102. By the war count, it's actually day 100, but we're better than that. We are ahead of this game. So, without any further ado, Jacob Carsbo, Danish intelligence officer extraordinaire, is not with us today. He will be back tomorrow. He has a family or something where he actually has obligations that he has to keep watching his kid play professional soccer. Devilishly handsome son, by the way, just murderously. He's like a Scandinavian supermodel or something. And but he is a world class soccer player in Denmark in the leagues there. So Jacob goes and supports him. Yay! But we have Wajeeh, the gay lion from Minneapolis, Minnesota, via Saudi Arabia, Middle East, and Gulf states expert and owner of one of two fezzes. Waj, when I get back to Hudson, we'll have fez only shows, right? Well, tell Jacob, he's like, go get a fez, go find a Turkish barbershop, get your
And
ass
I
a
know you're
fez.
going to Egypt. I will send you the last shop that makes it by hand.
Voila. I don't know.
They're 300 years old. It's
I'll
the
be there.
300 years old. And
I
you
will be
go there
there.
size and they make it right in front of you.
Yeah, voila. That's what I want. I want my own black man spy. And I wanted to say that, black man spy.
They
they,
probably gonna have
they,
to do
they
that.
won't do that part, but they will make a fez for me. Halas. Okay, well, so guys, Jacob, what coffee mug are you rocking today?
Jacob is not here, but
Oh, I'm
I'm
sorry.
rocking the
Well,
same.
see, that's how tired I am. Ooh, that is a very nice mug. It's Mr.
Thank you.
Hand Ceramic. You're probably going out to all those Midwest craft fairs,
If I can find them, I will.
going and getting them mugs. And I am back to the Wallace and
Jacob is here, by
Gromit
the way.
mug.
Jacob is here. If you want to give him the mic,
He is. What's he doing here? He said Monday.
he said he's here.
Hold on. Okay, hold on. Well, always fun to have a third party. Let's see. Here he is.
Get out
We
of here.
thought we thought you had stuff to do with the family. You said I'll see you Monday.
Fortunately, I've got it in writing that I said I'm back on Sunday. So, Malcolm,
Monday.
you got to.
I have no idea what day of the week it is. I barely can figure out what month it is. Somebody says we're heading into July or something. I thought we were still in May.
So,
Or
as you
is it
right,
June?
I'm back on day number 104 of the war.
Wrong. We're on 102. We recalibrated it. And according to the Trump administration, it's day 100, which it doesn't matter. This is bad altogether. It's bad that we are now in triple digits, and one of those digits is not starting with a zero. Right? We are in triple
Exactly.
digits in the war. With that, you got a coffee mug? Get our our operational days working.
I do. I was just on a radio show talking about Ukraine and how it's going. And I was sat besides an old professor that was talking nonsense. So I had to give him a lecture about what the data about the war in Ukraine are actually telling us.
Good.
But they can't mobilize enough soldiers, so they will lose eventually and so on. I said, come on, let's be serious, man.
It drives me absolutely batty. Did you? You got to hit him with the big one. And when is the last time you were in Ukraine? There, slick.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Have you ever been to Ukraine? Actually,
I had that happen to me at the run up to the war, and I had been in Ukraine for a month, driving every road I knew would be an invasion route, right? From the Russian border towards Kyiv, from Belarusian border, everywhere. The only place I didn't get to was Mariupol and Odessa. But all the rest of them, Kharkiv, I mean, we were like, oh, this war's coming. And they put me on air. and I was one with an academic who was like, Kyiv will fall in 3 days. I was like, have you ever been to Kyiv? Have you been to this city? It's freaking huge. I mean, it's huge. I had a safe house in that city for almost a year. And I go, it's the size of Chicago. And it has a population bigger than Chicago. It's 5 million, 4 million with a shadow population of 1 million. I go, they're never, and he goes, they'll take it in 3 days. I said, they'll never take that city. Never, never take that city. And the only penetration, spectacular penetration that they had into northern Kyiv was an ambush that they had allowed. They wanted to see how far Russian reconnaissance could move. And there's a road near the Babi Yar Memorial and the zoo. I can't remember which boulevard that is. But I remember the first time I drove down that boulevard and I thought, it's got car high medians. The medians are concrete. They're as high as the roof of your car. And all the buildings on the left side of the road are 3- and 4-story concrete buildings. And then on the right, you have the park, the Babi Yar Memorial, the zoo. And I'm like, well, that's a fucking ambush. And then I said, anyone that's caught on this road,
drive.
Well, you can't turn left or right. Right into the forest, left into concrete medians on both sides. Guess where the Ukrainians let those guys come into the city? Right up that road. And when I saw it on video, I was like, what are they doing on that road? It's an ambush. And before I could say ambush, fucking rockets and everything was hitting them. Little old ladies with Molotovs were thrown out the window. That road was a slaughter. That was it. That's as close as it was a reconnaissance unit. They were crashing into shit, hitting the median. One a BMP or BMD got stuck up on the concrete. I was like, brother, you could have seen that coming. And that was it. That was it. That day, it was a GUR SBU ambush. They're like, let them in. Let them in. Let them think they're coming into the city. And wham! They slaughtered them. It's like those movies where the door shuts behind you, right? And spikes come down from the ceiling. That was Kyiv. And of course, it was an academic who had never been to Ukraine telling me it's going to fall in 72 hours. Like,
Europe
never.
is full of those as well. Europe is full of those as well.
Yeah. And they're all pro-Moscow for some strange reason. Like, it's too much. Just the stupidity.
They're like, but we have to watch because Russia will stay Russia. So we have to find out how to be neighbors with Russia and solve that whole.
How about that country collapse into its parts? No. It's appeasement bullshit. Right now, people are saying, "Oh, the United States won't defend Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia." I'm pretty sure right now, with what Russia has, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia alone can hold the Russians. And then, God forbid, the Poles get into it. The Polish army is 3 times stronger than what remains of the Russian army. And they will boom. They'll be in Kaliningrad within an hour. They'll take it. And, I have these guys go, oh, they're going to invade NATO. I go, them in what army? They don't have tanks. They barely have pickup trucks anymore. They're riding around.
Have the Germans and the Dutch setting up a European-led NATO command for the forces in the Baltic states, numbering 60,000 forces.
A Baltic command
led by Germany, Germany and the Dutch.
Yeah,
so
and you know what?
That's the way to go.
NATO minus the United States is still the most capable armed force outside of Ukraine. It really is. They've got like some crazy number, like 6,000, 7,000 tanks. Russia might be down to 1,000 tanks, most of which are busted ass, rusted out hulks. They've had my favorite part of the war was when the Laotians, the Russians asked everybody to return tanks that had been lent to them, and fucking Laos returned
Laos.
six T-34s from World War II. They returned them back to Russia to contribute to the war effort. They went around, they were like happy to get all their tanks out of Syria. They went around to everybody, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan. They were like, hey, if you got some extra tanks down there, why don't you just give them back to us? We'll buy them. There is no, I always say this, there is no Russian defense market anymore. There's nothing anyone will buy. I think they even asked the Emiratis for their BMP-3 UAE models if they wanted to sell them back to them.
Yeah.
They were shit
And
tanks
as
from the beginning.
President Zelensky reminded the whole world on Thursday evening that Putin is the first Russian ruler to ask for assistance from Pyongyang.
From Pyongyang.
What does that tell you?
Not only that. No. Don't forget. Putin is only leader that has recruited Houthi fighters to join the fight in Ukraine. He is now. He went to Yemen. He went to North Korea. He's going everywhere.
You know, you just reminded me of something. Go ahead.
And he even, and I loved how audacious he is, you know, he even roasted Donald Trump by saying Ukrainian and European affairs are not settled in Anchorage.
They're not, are they?
In reference to the Putin-Trump summit that the Russians always use to say, we had an agreement with Donald Trump at Anchorage. And Zelensky said, fuck you.
Yeah. Well, you know, they can have all the agreements they want with Donald Trump. But I was asked yesterday about on Mario's show about what I thought of Zelensky going to Putin and asking if they would like to sit down and meet face to face. It means Ukraine's on the verge of victory. Ukraine is trying to give him an out. I personally think that the Russian army is on the edge of collapse. Now that we control the entirety of the Russian logistics rear, nothing can get to Crimea unless it's on a barge and goes all the way down the middle or the eastern side of the Sea of Azov. There's nothing. There ain't jack shit they're gonna have.
Exactly.
What a disaster. I'm looking up one of my favorite things here for you. You guys don't need what? Okay, that was weird. I was just some stuff I was looking at in Ukraine. Al Capone Cola. I don't know where that came from, but I have a Al Capone Cola. I have a photograph here of my zeroing target that we were using in Kharkiv. And this is the standard zeroing target. Let me see if I can find it. But yeah, they were like, oh, you got to zero your rifles. And all the targets were, I'll show it to you. I think I found it. Wow, that's weird. Not weird. But the standard zeroing target was a photo of Putin. And they were made to be zeroed. Oh, is that it right down there? I have it somewhere, but this is what they gave out to everybody. It was like target Putin on top of it. I have a photo of it here, but it's hard to see here. Connect that up. That's me on my way to the range. You can't see it well here. I have it as a souvenir in my house. There's a bunch of magazines. But you see that photo of Putin? I have this picture. That was the first zeroing I did on this rifle that they gave me in the International Legion. Oh, can you see it well? It's no, there it is. Anyway, it's Vladimir Putin, and this is what we see. This is what we zeroed our guns on. Everybody shot Putin every day, right? At the range. And this was standard issue. This wasn't like somebody had novelty pictures. The Ukrainian army made like 100,000 of these things. Are like, zero your weapon on Putin. I have it framed now that I have with my grouping was good. And so, for an AKM that I had never fired before. All right, well, let's get on with the news because today is it's a slow news day with a lot of things happening. Let's put it that way. A slow news day. And so I would like to get everybody out of here by at least a 45 after hour. But I'm bringing the map down. I'm swinging the map down to Lebanon. The significant activities of the day, there was drones launched in the Strait of Hormuz yesterday. It's almost becoming a standard thing. The Iranians were warning warships. They fired 2 drones at it. The U.S. Navy said that they intercepted or attempt to intercept those drones. No ballistic missiles fired at Kuwait or Bahrain again. The significant activity is in Lebanon. For those of you who can see it, this is Beirut. Here, Beirut. Sidon. This is about 25 to 30 kilometers. Then from Sidon to Tyre, we found out is 35 kilometers. And from the border to Tyre is about 20 kilometers. Which in antiquity was 1 day's walking between each of those villages. The Israelis yesterday, I guess the ceasefire for them is all double fingers, right? The Israelis yesterday, in complete defiance to Donald Trump and in complete defiance to Iran, launched a blitz of airstrikes going against Lebanon. 150 targets were struck all over the country, and most significantly, the promise that they would not hit the Dahia section of Beirut went right out the window. They struck what they claim were storage facilities, ammunition dumps, logistics facilities, command and control points of Hezbollah in Beirut. And I will zoom in here so that you guys can get a better view of where that is. It's the southern side of the city. That's anyway, it's the south side of the city. Is it near Beirut University? I can't go. Southern side of Beirut. This is Hezbollah country. So Israel, in defiance of Iran, has re-blitzed. Now, I knew precisely, we said this about 4 or 5 days ago. When Israel breaks this so-called ceasefire that they had allegedly signed with the government of Lebanon last Friday, that Israel would break it by saying, we are doing this in retaliation for attacks against us. I have told this famous story from the first Israeli occupation of southern Lebanon and Beirut in 1983 that was told by Tom Friedman, that when they would have ceasefires between the Israelis and the Syrian army, a soldier who fell asleep at his checkpoint and his rifle fell over and one shot came out of the rifle would unleash a 16-hour Israeli artillery barrage on every position in Lebanon. That is what you are looking at here. You are looking at the Israelis using Hezbollah, small-scale Hezbollah attacks to go out and savage the entire infrastructure of southern Lebanon. The only question on the table now is, will they now keep moving armored forces forward past the Litani River and onto the Zahrani River, which is halfway between Beirut and Sidon? This is the Zahrani River. Yep. This is the border down here. Yeah. Whoop. Yeah. So, unhealthy all around. Comments?
And the Israelis today have issued an evacuation order again for Tyre.
Again? Mm-hmm. Yes. Against Tyre.
Tyre, yeah. And yeah, go ahead.
No, keep going. I apologize. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, so I think they're moving on, moving further north. That's what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
What's going on is also the leader of Hezbollah came out and said that the negotiation that or whatever peace that has been suggested or ceasefire is not going to happen. Straight up like rebuking all of that. In addition to the highly fluid combat zone, he was talking about the U.S. mandated pilot zone truce, which was Malcolm was telling me right before the show. It's right in the southern Lebanon, just a small piece of few kilometers. But Hezbollah is like, as long as the Israelis are there, we are not moving anywhere. What Israel military is thinking, they want to reach beyond the Litani River so they can stop in Israel's viewpoint the missile barrage attacks that are happening from the northern part of the southern of Lebanon. They think if they keep going forward, they'll be able to stop all of these attacks, and I feel like that's just not gonna like it's not gonna make the difference. It's just gonna increase the guerrilla warfare.
Well, their geographic reason for choosing the Zahrani River is it's approximately 60 kilometers north of the Israeli border. And that would mean that Hezbollah would have to use its longer range rockets, right? Hezbollah's got rockets that can reach Tel Aviv. All right, when he wants to use its strategic rockets. But these little rockets that they're shooting, the distance between Tyre and Sidon is 35 kilometers, right? And then the distance between the border and Tyre is about 25 to 30 kilometers. So you have 60 kilometers, which is about 40 nautical miles. And if you're pushing them to the Zahrani River, then that is supposed to be the safe zone for, where Hezbollah rockets will fall within Israel, the basic rockets. This photograph that I'm showing right here, this is the Israeli order to evacuate the city of Tyre, all the major areas here. And this is Arkuk al-Mafde. This is Bas al-Bas. This here is Sur. And this area here, this is old Tyre, ancient Tyre. Tyre, this is the old seaport that has been there. What did we calculate today? 29 centuries. That
Yep.
seaport has been operational. It was the seaport main capital of Phoenicia, right? Which existed at 9 century BC. Right? There you go.
Yeah.
So the Israelis are demanding that all civilians leave these sectors of the city. And you ready for it? Walk 35 kilometers or drive north of the Zahrani River. Essentially, move your ass from Tyre to Sidon.
Mm.
This is unheard of. They've already displaced 1.2 million people. People are living on the streets of Beirut. Everyone's living with their relatives all over the place. But this evacuation order is a little crazy because it anticipates that they're going to Gazify the place, because this is what they did in Gaza. They would order an evacuation order, and then they would say to the army, that's a free fire zone now. We see anybody in there, you're a dead man. They hit a vehicle the other day that was carrying 40 cans of milk, right? Came from a truck stop carrying 40 cans of milk. They were not carrying powdered baby milk. They were not carrying that to Hezbollah fighters as fucking cans of protein or energy drinks. But the truck crossed the red line. So you move, you die. That as a person who has fought many wars, I'm really starting to wonder about their ethics of fighting. I know it's existential to them, but this is not existential to them. You just want to get the 100,000 people back into northern Israel. But to do that, you can't create a 60-mile, 40, 50-mile buffer zone that displaces 2 million, 1.5 million people and compromises up to 30% of Lebanon. Right? Okay. So Israel is bombarding all over the city of Tyre. They're carrying out targeted assassinations. Needless to say, it's a question of what the Iranians will do now. Recall what the Iranians threatened last week, and that the commander of the senior advisor to Mujtaba al-Khamenei said yesterday, General al-Rizai, he said, we will bombard northern Israel. Right now, he's shifted the focus away from Tel Aviv and other parts of Israel being the place where strategic, theater level ballistic missiles will fly to. And he's now saying he will, I'm afraid to say he might have been listening to me on Mario's show the other day. He will now do fire support for Hezbollah in Lebanon and northern Israel, striking, air defense missile facilities, logistics points, things like that. This could spin very quickly out of control because if Iran does that, what's next? Israel goes and destroys every power plant in Iran. And suddenly we are back to day one, reset. If you ever see me, U.S., Israel, Iran war, reset, right, or day zero, then you know that it went over the top. Right, that we've
and
now
really, it's a matter of deterrence. And the problem is that, the Iranians have sensed all long ago that that Trump is afraid to restart the war. So that's also why they would be happy to start shooting at Israel because of Lebanon, because they don't see a they're not deterred by what Trump is doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, this image is from the Bekaa Valley, and Israel struck an old Husseiniya. A Husseiniya, this is where you guys need to understand the difference between Sunnah and Shia. A masjid, right, is used universally. Mosque is a universal word for anyone who goes and prays to Allah. But in Shia Islam, they are called Wajeeh, Husseiniya. Husseiniya, right? Hussein's place, right? So where they are honoring Hussein. Nothing gets Sunnah Arabs angrier than seeing a Husseiniya. I know in Abu Dhabi, those guys used to spit on that place. But that's where Shia Muslims go and pray. This is a place called the Old Husseiniya in the Bekaa Valley. Israel bombarded yesterday, essentially calling it a logistic storage point. That and other areas, Mefadun, Nebatia, all of the places they call Hezbollah strong points. Apparently, Israel has just decided they're just going back to war. They had enough time to rearm, refuel, and recalibrate and relocate enemy positions with advanced reconnaissance. And now, using D-Day, June 6th, which was yesterday, is double fingers up to Donald Trump. We're back to doing it. And I said this before. I said they will go to Trump and they will say, we were attacked and we had to stave off an attack. And it's sort of like these attacks that we're doing in the Strait of Hormuz. We launch C-2 drones launch, we fucking attack everything that's out there. So again, Israel games this system. And the question is, how many days will this go on before Trump gets pretty angry about it? Okay, so, Israeli drones assassinated a Lebanese army general today? That can't be right.
Lebanese army general?
This guy. Yeah, he's a Lebanese army major general. Let me see what the reason was for. Update. The strike happened before the Kardali point, right where the Lebanese army ridiculously suggested coordinating with the Israeli army in a piloting zone. Yesterday, Lebanese army general was in charge of the armed forces that took control of the Dibba after Israeli withdrawal and sent them without weapons. Israeli drones killed a Christian family with their daughter last week. That's interesting. We'll have to reconfirm that. Oh, but now it's about Trump. Trump, Mujtada listen to me, Mujtaba al-Khamenei and Benjamin Netanyahu. This is a 3-leader game now. Who will strike first?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm asking. Who do you guys think's going to throw the first punch now? Next punch.
Netanyahu. Always
Well,
Netanyahu.
Always?
Listen, the thing is that we have a constant history of repeating itself anytime we say there is a peace dialogue or ceasefire. Israel takes that in its own advantage to expand into any territory. It happens in Julan, happens inside Israel, it happens in Syria, happens in Lebanon, and it happens in all the borders that it shares. That's just the only reason that they're not in control of the Sinai Peninsula is because the United States literally told them, no, you don't get to go into this peninsula because if you don't remember, Israel took all of the Egyptian Sinai Peninsula, and it took the United States to be like, no, no, you got to step back and give the Egyptians that back. You have to understand there is an actual history that repeats itself. And the actual danger at this time is that you have a president or a prime minister of Israel who has spoken publicly about annihilating the Palestinian and Arabic people before he became prime minister. I don't know if you remember this, but when Yasser Arafat was in Washington, D.C., when I was a little baby, or maybe before I was born, they were signing the peace contract with Clinton. At the same time, Netanyahu was on the streets of Israel demanding that the Israeli prime minister be sentenced to prison and compared him to what you call him compared him to Hitler. And when he returned, Yasser Arafat was treated like shit, and the Israeli prime minister got assassinated.
Yeah. Well, in furthering this story, Lebanese Army Chief Rudolf Heikel left for Pakistan yesterday. Just think about that. The commander of Lebanese armed forces flew to Pakistan yesterday in a surprise visit as Israel continued striking southern Lebanon, hours after Israeli strikes killed Brigadier General Wissam Sabra, Captain Ili Al-Khoury, and soldier Hussein Ghazal on the Kadali Nabatea Road. And let me tell you something. The Israelis are very good at knowing who is in what vehicle, where.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the message of this was a coordinated meeting between the Israeli commanders and the Lebanese army commander of that district, from what I'm gathering. They met on the road. The Lebanese army general and his staff there, his driver and his aide de camp, turned around, and the next thing you know, a fucking Apache puts a missile into it. Okay, guys, someone explain that one to me. What was the purpose of that? Was he, I don't know, but the fact that, the commander of the Lebanese army has now gone directly to Pakistan. This is the Lebanese at a military level appealing to the chief of general staff of Pakistan, who is now the principal negotiator with Iran, essentially to say, hey, they just killed my deputy, right? who was coordinating allowing the Lebanese army down into that sector. Mm-hmm. They were there to help. Or the Israelis just felt he was not cooperative enough and decided to assassinate him. Don't tell me that was an accident.
The Israelis can only have, one. The thinking needs to be that they don't want the negotiations. That they don't care, that they want to do their thing, because they know that the Lebanese, of course, need to get help elsewhere when this kind of thing happens.
Yeah.
So, the Israelis are not dumb. So it's got to be something they've thought about.
Well, it says here that it confirmed. I just didn't read down further. He went to Pakistan at the personal invitation of Field Marshal Syed Asim al-Munir. He is the commander of Pakistan's armed forces, who is right now the principal negotiator between Iran and the United States. That guy flies to Tehran all the time, and I think that it's the only guy they respect, because he has a handle on the military things. The Iranian negotiator's not flying to Pakistan. That guy flies to Tehran in a Pakistani Air Force, executive jet, and does all the negotiation. And I think that he saw, once his guy got killed, he was like, "Get over here right now. All right, we gotta neutralize this as an issue, because now the government of Lebanon has to go back to the United States, because this was allegedly a ceasefire, to explain why one of their top general coordinating with the Israelis in southern Lebanon was just assassinated. And before you guys say, "Oh, it was an accident," let's go to the video, shall we? There's always a video. So hold on here. General killed. So this is the 3 that were killed. This is General Sabra, his aide-de-camp, and his driver. They already memorialized him. That is his vehicle. That ain't an accident. There's a photograph of that vehicle on fire. Direct hit by a Hellfire missile. Okay? Hellfire missiles don't just fall from the sky. They are coordinated. They have to have clearance to engage and kill. These 3 guys were in multicam, wearing Lebanese army patches, talking to the Israelis in a coordination reading right up the road from where they blasted them. Someone go figure. There it is. There's the vehicle on fire. You know why there's a photograph of that? Because the Israelis are where the camera are taking the picture. It's like, fuck them, they gone. I mean, what's the flight time? 30, let's the flight time 5-10 kilometers away. 30, 45 seconds? That's about right. Yeah. Just, it's, are they trying? The Lebanese army were working with the Trump administration and the government of Lebanon to come down and take these positions. Why would this guy get killed by the Israelis? And don't tell me it was his bow.
As much as we can say the Lebanese army is weak, it's the only game in town. And, it's the only force that, hopefully one day could secure Israel's northern border. But, if they wander around shooting the generals, then they're only going to make matters worse.
Yep. Speaking of making matters worse, I thought we'd have a short show today.
Probably even Hezbollah is happy about it, because it feeds them. It feeds into their narrative about the whole situation. So they're probably cool with it.
Yep. So one of the stories we did miss, I had it on my blotter to talk about a couple of days ago. From way back in the oldie days when I was 19 years old, 1982, the United Nations put a peacekeeping force in southern Lebanon, right? They were called United Nations Forces in Lebanon, aka UNIFIL.
UNIFIL.
Well, UNIFIL had a mandate that I'm trying to get it, but their mandate ended a week ago. And UNIFIL, which at this time had been staffed with French, German, for a very long time, Irish troops. I mean, the Irish practically lived in southern Lebanon. These were United Nations troops in southern Lebanon who were supposed to be the buffer between Israel and other fighting forces. This is pictures of Indian Army women in UNIFIL. I don't know if you can see that very well. My camera is much closer these days. Indian Army women wearing the United Nations blue. All the vehicles are white with, UN on the sides of them. This is the Indian contingent in UNIFIL. This is a good example. A week ago, a Serbian soldier was killed by gunfire from Hezbollah. We missed that one. I saw it when I saw the withdrawal agreement. So these forces, though, have been here for decades, and they are now officially withdrawing. And there is talk that the European... Yes.
They were banned from Hezbollah from moving around.
Yeah, well, UNIFIL's mandate is you should not do anything that gets you killed. If you would like to see a good example of that, the movie Black Hawk Down was a UNISOM operation, right? United Nations in Somalia operation. And it took the Pakistanis to have to come out and rescue the Americans when they didn't coordinate. So, but
It's
UNIFIL,
also,
the Israelis hated UNIFIL. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to understand that UNIFIL was upgraded significantly after the 2006 war. The last time there was major war fighting going on in southern Lebanon, a significant upgrade of UNIFIL, but now that has been destroyed.
Well, it is finished. Not the UNIFIL mission, just UNIFIL in general. The Israelis said that UNIFIL was the equivalent of what's the UN group in Gaza, the civilian group?
UNRWA.
UNRWA. They said that UNIFIL wouldn't do anything against Hezbollah, but would constantly report on Israeli activities. And of course, these guys are there. They don't shoot. They're not allowed to shoot unless it's defensive. Most of the time, they run around in these armored vehicles, white armored vehicles, and pretty much do nothing. Their mission, for the most part, was to just keep an eye out on things. So that's what they did. The Israelis didn't like them there. Hezbollah didn't like them there. Guess what, folks? They're gone now. They're leaving now. And the United Nations mission in Lebanon is ending. I never did a UNIFIL. I mean, we had guys, who would be assigned to UNIFIL, Marines, guys like that, would go to southern Lebanon and would be on assignment with, the French Marines or the British Army or something like that. But that is the end of an era. But Malcolm, what's now between the Israelis and Hezbollah? Well, theoretically, according to the agreement, the Lebanese army whose commander you just killed. Go figure.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
Fuck me twice. All right, this is, guys, jump in. Do you have anything else? Lebanon is dominating everything right now. And it's a question of whether ballistic missiles start flying and the Iran war starts all over again. Because Netanyahu, I want to see him explain it to Trump, or he knew Trump was distracted. And he's like, oh, well, we only attacked for 3 days, 4 days. We're fine. We're done. We direct attacks on Dahlia. Didn't Trump say stop doing that? Yes. Yes. Netanyahu's not that.
He can say stop doing that all he wants. I told you this in the beginning, from the beginning. the Trump administration main issue with this peace talk is they have no control over Israel military. They can try to calm the situation down as much as they want. There's two things we need to know. Iran has tied the peace talks directly to the conflict in Lebanon. So if you want a ceasefire with Iran, you have to have a ceasefire with Hezbollah. And
Right.
if Israel cannot get its act together, and they're not getting their act together on purpose, right? There's nothing Trump physically can do to stop the Israelis other than going on TV and saying, "Oh yeah, I saved his ass from being arrested." Okay, you you could do more than that. You could stop the war if you want, and you could stop giving Israel all whatever they want to keep this war going. There's more things that you physically could do to end this war, but it seems like you either Netanyahu has something on him and or he's just not strong enough as we thought he is. The person, the deal maker, the person that's supposed to be the art of the deal that wrote us the book of the art of the deal, right? And he's supposed to be negotiating in the Middle East. He's the one that's supposed to end the Ukraine war with a week. Now where we have Ukraine war is still going. We started a war in the Middle East, a war that we don't know how to get out of. We have threatened to bomb Oman, our oldest Middle Eastern ally in the region, and we are now losing the world economy and might have to raise interest rates in the United States again, even though our economy is supposed to be doing good. The S&P has dropped more than 500 points just right before the weekend started. So we're not doing so good.
No.
The technology sector is doing horrible, and the only people who have been prepared for this whole situation is China.
Mm. Yeah. Well, anyway, I put up the map here. This is south central Beirut, just north of the airport. That's the Dahia district of Beirut. That's Hezbollah's stronghold. And the Israelis have now, we'll see how much. If they carried out more attacks today, I haven't said. Um, we'll see whether it was a one-time day thing. Because now Netanyahu has to explain this to Trump. Trump's like, I thought we had a ceasefire. And Netanyahu will go, they attacked us. You allowed that we can retaliate for attacks.
Yeah.
There you go. And that will just happen every day for the next year. But this could result in a ballistic missile barrage against southern Lebanon, against Israeli forces there.
And then it's going to be super interesting to see how Trump responds to that, because he doesn't want to pick up the war against Iran again. But, it might be the forever war picking up again.
Wallahi, I'm sure I have questions here somewhere. So let me. I have.
I don't.
I
I don't know
I
if you
have the.
spoke about it yesterday, but that whole cute deal of the Trump administration suggesting that the Iranian frozen assets be used to pay war reparations for the Gulf countries is completely ridiculous, because if they say yes, they're going to make themselves targets. The Iranians will go crazy and start shooting, sending drones into all the Gulf countries if they do that. So it's just the stupidest idea ever. Another totally stupid idea.
There are a lot of totally stupid ideas out there on the table. And that doesn't mean that there's immunity from dumbassery. Okay.
No.
I mean, to Trump, this may sound like an amazing thing, Yeah. Let me see if I can. Here we are. Let's go to the chat and let's take some questions before we start. We had a lot of talk yesterday. I answered some questions this morning before we even started. I had 20 questions that I started answering. And let's try to keep them to questions, ladies and gentlemen. We talked about this yesterday. How likely and what extent is Ukraine making progress to cut off supplies in Crimea? They're doing it. They're saying if you go to Crimea, if you survive and get your ass on a tank of gas down to Crimea beaches, there is no gasoline for you to return. You're stuck there. You're going to be there until the NAFO Crimea beach party happens.
The Russian occupation authority have banned civilians from driving along the so-called land bridge
The land
to
bridge,
Crimea because of drone attacks every hour, every minute, every day. It's just continuous.
I see Greg Barnhill actually asked what we thought of the attack on the Lebanese army soldiers. I'm sorry, the Israeli army is a very precise force. I've met with the Israelis. I was going to go into Gaza with the Israelis in 2024, except that the morning that we were meeting to go out, of course, I had my armor and all my shit. That was the day that they had the attack that killed 21 explosive ordnance disposal guys. And while we were waiting there, they were like, trips are off, But I didn't, what's his name? One of my peers went with Netanyahu, Netanyahu or somebody. But they're very good at this, and they don't have accidents like this. They wanted whoever was in that truck dead for some reason. And I don't know maybe he wasn't compliant enough with the Israelis, but it had to have been coordinated before he ever arrived at that meeting for a helicopter or whatever it was to be ready to kill him. Dahya in Lebanon just got attacked. Yes. What do you think will happen? We talked about that. How bad will Iranian sleeper cell attacks get after Trump's regime is gone? There's no Iranian sleeper cells. There aren't any. Every Iranian that comes to the United States wants to open a kebab shop or a shisha shop. Let's just be honest. And they're good at it. They're good at it. Somebody says, I should let Jacob do the maps because your screen is clearer. I'm using Google Earth. All right, Jacob, you do the maps.
What could happen is you can have individuals who are inspired to do stupid actions, but I think that sleeper cells is a little bit too much of a technical action. Like it's more of like clandestine operation. Like when you say sleeper cell there's a lot more going on in a sleeper cell than someone who just got inspired to do a terrorist.
Yeah. There are difference. I mean, a sleeper cell is intelligence or military professionals that are sent in, right? They're sent into a country with the intent to be activated to carry out an act of terrorism or operation. What we're talking about, most things that happen in the United States, including white guys, are self-starting terrorists. They just think it up. I'm getting my gun. I'm going to write Treaty of Vienna 14, whatever, and walk into a synagogue or a mosque and kill everybody because I hate Jews and I hate Muslims. That's how self-starters start. And they're impossible to intercept. They are impossible to predict. I wrote this in my book, The 3 editions of the Terrorist Recognition Handbook. Here is where planning starts. Here is where execution ends. And then the only way you can get them is en route, or if they brag ahead of time, or you got to get them en route, or their live stream, which they'll be doing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But, somebody says Trump is
in the U.S. You also need to be aware of the same phenomenon we've seen here in Europe, where they try via the internet to radicalize and recruit someone to be in contact with criminal groups that they recruit that do it for money and do assassinations. They're not
subcontractor
terrorism. It's not, exactly, and it's not always the most efficient strikes they manage to do, but they often manage to get something through that way. But that's
why
a new modality that
recently
we've seen
they
more and
have
more.
been hiring the cartel recently.
Yeah,
The
subcontractors. Okay, somebody says that Chernobyl took a hit overnight. It's not
Really?
empty. It's a giant. Well, there's the giant sarcophagus. Then there's the operating reactors. There's still operating reactors.
Oh, I was there 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, Chernobyl's a fun place. I was there before the Russians dug fighting pits into the insanely radioactive waste. Oh my God. They're so
I don't
stupid.
think I can find the photos, but I've got some nice selfies from
Somebody made a comment.
from inside where I look like a real donkey. So I'll
Okay.
put them up tomorrow.
Somebody said, "Don't worry about sleeper cells. We have Trump is a Trump is a sleeper cell." Get it? Because he's always asleep.
Sleepy cell.
Fall asleeper cell. That's what it was. Fall asleeper cell.
But he's a dangerous one. Yeah.
One of the first things I learned in Vietnam, the hedgehog ambush defense. We're going to have a Ukraine show. We need to talk about Ukraine tactics. The Russians monitor this stuff. If we're going by February 28th to start, the war is in Iran's 249th day. All right, because technically this war is still going from the 12-day war last year. Somebody wants me to play the Lego video. No, there's a great one about Ivanka in Albania. That's just hilarious. These guys are so good. Not all of them are IRGC, or what do they call it? Something media. I can't remember the media organization, but they are good. Hadid did a slim summary of the history of Lebanon from the Middle Paleolithic to Alexander the Great on day 100. If anyone is interested, I could drop one later from Alexander to the crisis of the 3rd century. That's a little too refined for our taste. All right, we'll get it. Anybody that wants to know, there's millions of books there. Do we believe the Israelis will stop at the Litani River? No, they're already past the Litani River. It's the Zahrani River, right? At Sidon.
Up here. Litani here. Up here.
Once they get there and occupy all of that, I don't even know if they have the right quantity of forces for this, but who knows? Why should there be objections to Iran and Oman sharing fees on the Strait of Hormuz, says Rose. Countries frequently charge maritime fees for operational costs. Major examples include the St. Lawrence Seaway and Turkey and the Bosphorus. Well, the St. Lawrence Seaway is 100% in Canada. So is the Bosphorus, So it's almost it's an intersea waterway in one nation. This is split between the two. But if this happens, you can expect the Strait of Malacca. You can see, the Straits of Otranto, the Bab el-Mandab. Everybody will be charging. There's Trump. That's what Trump did.
So
He's
dumb
taken
in Denmark.
international.
We give it for free. You can pass the Danish Strait.
The Denmark
free,
Straits.
Denmark
Straits,
I
baby.
mean, we're so dumb, man.
Yeah.
We should do the easy pass.
As long as you give him the right to name it the Trump Strait, he will let it go.
Okay, somebody says, how would
Trump Strait?
Somebody question from Rose, how would you recommend Lebanon protect itself from being completely taken over if you say Hezbollah is bad and should stop? If any of us could answer that question, we'd be ambassadors. And none of the ambassadors can understand it right now. The best thing that ever happened to Lebanon was when the Saudis and the Emiratis dropped $10 billion, rebuilt Beirut, and opened it up to shisha, naked women, and whiskey. Okay. And that became a party zone, like all of this stuff. Now, of course, that's not true. Hezbollah was still building its military capability. I personally don't know. This is going to come to a crisis that I'm afraid the Israelis would prefer Lebanon go into civil war to get Hezbollah off their back, and Hezbollah would prefer another 20-year insurgency. I think I might have said this yesterday. Hezbollah, you're not going to see suicide donkey bombers anymore. There are no 10-year-old, 15-year-old kids will not be driving suicide bombs anymore. They will be sitting in their what?
They don't need to.
They'll be sitting in their flip-flops, right, on a hillside, FPV droning Israeli armor.
Mm-hmm.
They can kill further. They can have a 50-kilometer fiber optic string on the back of their drones now, and they'll be sitting in Sidon killing Israeli soldiers in Tyre.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
That's, I mean, and then they'll be trying to outscore each other. This is going to become a war of the youth. Everyone in Hezbollah is going to be a drone pilot.
Everyone, 15 years ago feared any terrorist attack because of the suicide bombers. They went to the extent of anal bombs where they would stuff their body with bombs so they can reach very hard to places. Now, that took a lot of convincing for people, that took a lot of brainwashing, that took a lot of efforts to convince people that you will get your versions, and then you had muftis coming against that and saying, no, you ain't getting shit, don't go to these terrorists. So there was this huge conflict between the Islamic clerks about whether suicide bombing is a good thing or not. This has solved all of that for them.
Yeah,
this has taken the whole.
This is going to be
the brainwashing.
This is going to be a new level of warfare, and I think that the new hero of the air will be 15 to 19-year-old kids smoking shisha, sitting around cafes, guiding FPVs, and Israelis already can't figure out what to do about it. They can't. There's not enough lasers in the world that could stop that.
What I was trying to say, back in the day, you had to convince someone to commit a suicide. Now you don't need to convince someone to commit a suicide.
That's right. Yeah, you got to convince them. They go, don't you have a 6-hour shift down at the shisha bar today? I want at least 2 tanks. And these guys, I'm not joking, they'll have, you know how kids are? They'll have it'll look like a Call of Duty scoreboard, but it will actually be kills of Israeli tanks, kills of Israeli soldiers. And if you were to hack your way into their little world, it would look like, oh, they're just playing Call of Duty. Somebody's on a kill streak. Speaking of which, the Handala hacking group have officially stated they have given the coordinates to the IRGC to attack northern Israel, and they are calling upon the evacuation of northern Israel. This is a Hezbollah-associated hacking group. Listen, folks, if you really think that these guys have more intelligence than the Iranian Air Force and Google Earth, thanks. We appreciate the effort, boys. Appreciate the effort. Sometimes they got intelligence. They can run new units out there. The Iranians got Chinese and Russian satellites. They can target down to the millimeter. So definitely
We've seen that.
Right. Yeah,
we've seen that.
Yeah, don't worry about that. That's all propaganda and slop. Okay, when you take down the entire Israeli banking system, then I will be impressed. I always say this about hackers. You guys noticed there were no hacking attempts by the Iranians, right? Maybe dodging bombs, recalibrates you. But that isn't going to stop you getting hit from drones, though. All right. Well, that's that. Some last question from Rose. You're all over the place today. The War of the Youth by Terry K. Wonder wrote War of the Youth. Good comment. I was writing reports about the military significance of the Middle East youth bulge 10 years ago when I worked for Central Command. That is a fact. There is an enormous tens of millions of young guys between the age of 15 and 30 with nothing to do. Zero. And they are telephone savvy, computer savvy, and they will be the cyber and drone warriors of today, right? Somebody's showing get your fiber optic cables on Alibaba right now, and you can order them by custom lengths up to 50, 75 kilometers. And Lebanon, it's a bunch of series of hills. And one of the things that we did in the International Legion in June of 2022, I developed the drone tactics and countermeasures book for our battalion, which was how do you use trees to mask yourself? How many meters do you pop yourself up? How high? How to determine whether there's jamming out there by going up in 5-meter increments, then coming down and running the treetop until you can see the jammer and kill the jammer with a drone. We did all sorts of fun stuff, right? The Ukrainians still use it. It's revolutionary for the first 6 months of the war. But now, 3 years, 4 years later, they got shit out there that people have a very hard time dealing with. Whole villages spider webbed covered with fiber optics because tens of thousands of fiber optic drones have flown over them. And these little filaments literally cover villages like a spider's web that's been played out there. So, yeah, these young kids are going to be the bomb. All right, we've gone over. I want to thank you guys for this clearly special Lebanon edition of the show. Let's hope that this holds. If you are watching this on YouTube, you've already missed us. Please come over to Substack to malcolmnance.substack.com. Or if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, hit the YouTube subscribe button. You had to have been a subscriber to me to come to this show. But if you haven't, go up here to that button that says Black Man Spy, hit that, and Jacob and Wajeeh's subscriptions will pop up from the box. Please subscribe to those guys. I could sit here for an hour and talk bullshit all day, but it is way more fun, sitting here talking to other experts and having to deal with that. If you can't get enough of me, in an hour, I will be on a political podcast for Save America Movement with Steve Schmidt and Ken Harbaugh, and we will be talking about the last week's activities in the Strait of Hormuz and the war with Iran. Wajeeh, see you tomorrow. Jacob, Fimanla. We'll see you
tomorrow.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.